And it starts with the mindset and clearing out your heart and like hearing God and following his voice and worrying about the money afterwards. He's going to give you things so that way you can steward them for his other people in his other kingdom.
Hello, dear listeners. It's that time again when we stroll through the paths of ambition, desire, and success. Welcome to the Dare to Declare podcast, where we explore the enchanting world of giant manifestors who've turned their visions and goals into the stuff of legends. I couldn't help but wonder, how do some people create the lives they've always dreamed of? Is it the magic of manifesting, the power of perseverance, or perhaps just a dash of serendipity? Well, dear friends, grab your coffee cups because we're about to spill the tea on fascinating journeys of those who dare to dream big and make it happen. Join me as we sip on success stories and ponder the ever-enticing question, can we all manifest our dreams into reality, or is it just an urban fairy tale? I'm your host, Debbie Sluice, and I'm here to guide you through the labyrinth of achievement with heart and soul. Ready to dare to declare? Let's get started.
Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to introduce to you Jeanette Peterson. She is a business strategist, faith mentor, and military veteran. Jeanette is a decorated Iraqi Freedom Veteran, spending 3.5 years overseas during her decade plus in the military. She holds certifications from industry leaders in cybersecurity, network engineering, and business operations. Today, Jeanette is a podcast host and speaker and is working towards empowering thousands of women to be unapologetic to who they are and who they were created to be, and to build an unstoppable businesses from anywhere in the world. She helps women build empires with community, mindset, and business optimization while homeschooling her kids. She is in the top 10 of podcasts. So right after this, go over and listen to hers. It's called Unapologetically Unstoppable, Building Businesses with the Holy Spirit. Welcome, Jeanette.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Me too. Me too. So we've been blessed to have a number of conversations in the last little while, and I feel like I already know you, even though it's only been about a month that we actually physically were in the same room, and we didn't even really have a chance to connect then. And it's just been really over the wonderful tech of Zoom, which is awesome.
Yes, I love it.
But I want to dive right in back to your bio, because I underlined actually some of the things that caught my attention was the word unapologetic. Unapologetic. And I know that you're a believer like me. And so when I hear words like that perhaps are not Christianese, that just don't necessarily, we're taught to be humble and to forgive. And so unapologetic to who they were created to be. And then the second part is to build unstoppable businesses from anywhere in the world. Can you tell me a bit more about what does all that mean?
Yeah. So I felt like in the Christian space, right, you're always told as women, we're supposed to be meek and submit to your husbands and just be the good girl and do all the things. And I had a problem with that. I was like, I don't want to. Growing up, my mom and my dad were married. They were doing the thing. She was a stay-at-home mom. And then he went to jail for a white collar crime. And so although my first car was a Lexus, right after that, we were broke. Like she'd never had a job. She didn't know what to do. We like lost the house. And that's one of the reasons I went into the military. But I was like, I will never depend solely on a man for my income ever. Like, I don't want to ever be put in that position to be that vulnerable. When I came back to Christianity after I had like during the time where I had my first kid, I was like, I can't still do that. I still can't, like, I can submit to my husband. We can make decisions together and like he can be the final say on these decisions. But I'm not going to just sit at home and be a stay at home mom. Like, I can't do that. That's not in my nature. I'm like every time I think about that, like it makes my skin crawl. Like nothing, like nothing to say that about like other stay at home moms.
Yeah,
Like do your
yeah,
thing, but like for me, it was just so abhorrent. But then I was like, maybe I'm not called to just stay at home because like I just feel so like disgusted by it. Maybe I can do something where I can like I still want to be the one rearing my kids. At that time I wasn't. I was like, I'll just send them to public school. It'll be great. I mean, not public, private school, it'll be great. But I was like, how do I figure out a way to make stupid amounts of money to do the thing that I feel like I'm called to do because I'm still a very intelligent woman and I want to continue to do that. And other women are too. I can't be the only one that feels like restricted by this Christianity thing. But like if God is the God of the universe who's created this world so that way I can be the biggest, boldest version that I'm supposed to be, then there's got to be something else for me here. And then I started reading my Bible. I started understanding women like Esther and Deborah and Priscilla and these people that were like sword slingers for Jesus. And I was like, okay, if these women can do that, then I feel like I can also do that and empower other women to know their Bible and what it says to actually do these things in the way that we were created to be. Like, I'm not trying to be somebody else. And I felt like a fraud when I was just staying at home with my kids. I was like, this sucks. I hate laundry. I hate cooking. I hate cleaning. This sucks. I don't want to do this. I was like, how do I do this better? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
wait, I met this lady and she was building a seven-figure business from home while homeschooling her kids. And I was like, that is a lifestyle that I want. Like, how do I do that? And so she started teaching me, and I was like, okay, let me help other women do the same thing because there are other women like me who want to raise their kids the way they want to and build these stupid rich businesses to give back to our communities and give back. And I want to do that. How do I do that? So I discovered it and I want other people to do that too.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. I was the same way. I think that's why we had this instant connection. And it just was never in the cards for me. And I was raised in a very conservative church where the role of the woman was to be quiet, and to also be stay at home. I have one sister, and that was her choice, and she did that. And she is one of the strongest women I know. I adore her. She is a powerful Christian woman, but that wasn't my choice. Like I wanted
Yeah.
to raise my children. I love being a mom. I'm a mom of four, but I also wanted to have that external career too. And so it's not having to choose, that it can be an and.
Yes. Yes, that's the part. Not having to choose. I want to do both and. And when it talks about the Proverb 31 woman, she is doing all the things. She's running her household. She has people that work under her. She is loved by her husband and her children. I was like, I want this full version, not the version that just says she's loved by her husband and she rears her children. Like, I want to do all of it. Why can't
Mm-hmm.
I? And if she can do
Mm-hmm.
it, there's got to be a way for me to do it now in modern times. And my mom is a boomer, right? So she was like, always telling me, Jeanette, you gotta like wear makeup and you gotta like dress like this and you gotta like, and I'm a tomboy at heart. Like I was like the one that was fixing my cars and like doing all that stuff. And so I didn't really fit in with that thing. And I didn't know how to and what that looked like. And I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm just never gonna get married. Whatever. I don't care. But like I just love that because the Bible says what it says, I'm able to do that and more and not feel restricted by what people were saying in the church, but like actually reading the Bible and saying what God is saying and being like, okay, these people are saying this from a worldview of men are over women, when really the Bible doesn't say that. So I was like, let me find out where it says, like trust but verify. Let me see what it says, but like okay, where does that like prove it to me? And so like I've been deep diving into how do I empower other women to see these things because I don't want them to be restricted because of what people are saying to them and not what the Bible is actually saying.
Right. And that's where the apology, the unapologetic comes in, is
Yes.
that you don't
Yes.
owe that to anyone else. It's not about God. It's not about snubbing your nose at
Right.
scripture or anything. Yeah. Yeah. Got
Yes.
it. Got it. So you also talk about helping women build empires. So that feels like a real masculine word. So what does empire mean to you? And can you give us some examples of how you're doing it yourself and how you're supporting others?
Like I just want women to like we just had the election here in the United States and I feel like a lot of the things were in just whatever. I'm just gonna be unapologetic about it. Like in American culture, people are always talking about racism or sexism or whatever. And in the military, I never felt like it was racist. It was always more sexist. Like when I was in Iraq, like they were like, okay, we're gonna do all these forward deployments. We're gonna go down range. Like we were in Iraq, but they were like, we're gonna go like to the front lines, and we need to fix some computers and do all these things. And because of how I am, I always wanted to be the best at whatever I was doing. And I was a lot of times, first of all, I was the only female there, and I was a lot of times a lot better at the job than the men were, just because that's my personality. And so I was like, when is my turn? I was asking my boss, when is my turn? When is my turn? But I was like, you're restricting me because I'm not like these men, and that's not fair when I am capable of doing these things. Now I know some women are like, women shouldn't even be in the military. You know what? That's a whole nother conversation. But like I was like, I want to do this. And if I have the ability and I'm not asking for special treatment or anything like that, let me do this. And so like when I'm thinking about like when when people were saying all these things, I don't even know why I told that story, but
I love it.
basically,
I love that
oh,
story.
but I was like, I want to build an empire for women. Oh, this is why. So I want us to be able to sit at the table and look men in the eye and say, look, I have different wants, needs, and desires for the things that I care about. Like I care about kids in a different way than men do. Just because I am a woman and I've had kids, it's not bad or wrong. It's just different. And so I want to be able to sit at the table and explain to men, like, okay, these are the things that I actually care about. These are the things, like, I don't want you to make these decisions for me. I want to tell you why I care about this and what these decisions mean to me so we can make them together for the good of the people. And so like there's something that happened with YouTube and YouTube Kids where you can't have a playlist. You can't make a playlist for kids songs. And I'm like, I want to make a playlist for kids because I want to curate what I have. And they thought that that would be better if they didn't, because then if it just auto played with the algorithm, then that would be better than if you could create this playlist. I was like, no, I want to curate. And like the men just don't get it. And they thought they were doing something right when really they're not. They're not helping me. I'm the mom sitting at home creating this playlist because I want my kids to only listen to these songs. I don't want it to automatically play all this stuff. And so it's just, I want to be able to be in a place where I can sit at the table and tell them, this is why this matters to me. This is how this matters to me. And this is the thing that we need to do. And we can't build it. We can't get at the table if we don't have the money. Money
Hmm.
talks, just plain and simple. So I want to be able to get at the table with the money and the backing of other women who understand why I think this way, and not just to be like, you're wrong because you're a man. It's, you're wrong because you don't understand. And showing that love to them and being like, look, you just don't get it because you're not sitting at home with the kids. This is what I actually need to be a good mother, to be a good steward of my time and all the things. But I need the autonomy to create these playlists or create this thing or to do this stuff. And they just don't get it. They think they're helping, but they're restricting actually.
It's a great example. So you alluded to your time in Iraq. Can you talk a bit more about your time there? And I know that you said you spent some time in the military, which is, you said, a little bit dirtier, a little bit rougher, maybe.
Yes.
And so I just found out you were the only female in that IT piece. So what are some of the things that you took away from your experience there? I know that's probably a really loaded question, but some things that, because I know that from there, you went on to become married and have children and living this life now. So it was obviously some kind of scaffold, some step there for you, that there was some positive lessons, maybe even from negative circumstances. I don't know. Can you share that?
Yeah, so I would say that a lot of the time in the military, I actually met my husband in the military. Um, was was really trying to understand people. So that's why I feel like I'm very relatable to a lot of people because I've met so many different people and I see their heart and try and see through maybe their pain or their hurt and what they're actually saying to me to see what like the actual deep problem is and what they are. So I would say that has really helped me in my business and in coaching because it's not just I have one worldview of growing up in Georgia and that's all I know. I've had the privilege to live overseas and live here and there, and I live in California right now. And just seeing these different cultures that pop up, and being in the Midwest, being in California, being in Georgia, being in Texas, all these different places. So that has really helped me. But another thing was I was highly independent. I didn't get married until I was 28. So I was like highly independent and just depending on myself. So to to be subservient to a man was like not only just revolting, I just didn't have to do it. Like it was just not a thing that I had to do. And whenever I was in my shop, we call them shops. Whenever I was in my shop, I was always the number 2. Like, the man was technically in charge, but I was the one that was running everything. I knew all the answers. I knew what was happening, and he just did I don't know what he did, but I was okay with that as long as you didn't tell me what to do, right? Don't tell
Right,
me
right,
what to do.
right. Oh, I love you. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
So I was cool with that. So it taught me how to once I got married, it taught me how to humble myself in a way where I could let my husband do things that I knew that I was better at than, but also not care as much about, right? So he likes to cook. When we first met, he would cook me raw things all the time. I couldn't stand it. And I don't enjoy cooking, but I would let him do it. And I was taught in my house that you have to clean while you cook. Like, it's just a thing. And my husband will go in there and blow up the entire kitchen. And I was like, I can't. I literally can't even be in the same room with you while you cook. I will be over here doing something else. But like, that taught me how to like compartmentalize what is actually important. Is it important that I am cooking, or is it important that I'm giving him a place where he can be free to do what he wants to do? I think that was more important. So some of those skills of releasing the control, releasing all the things that you need to do where you feel like you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way. And in the military, there are some things where you have to do it a certain way. But there are also some things where we're like, okay, this is what we have to get to. What is the shortest amount of steps that we have to get to it because we have to do it fast, right? The efficiency piece. Where so it's like, all right, if you want to launch a course tomorrow, okay, what are the things that we actually need to have? We actually just need to have a way for people to pay you and to get you in front of people. So like, let's cut the BS of having this 18 sequence and having this sales page and this sales page and that sales page. Like, let's just get to the brass tacks of, if we need to do this today, we need to make some money, let's do that. So it helps me realize what is actually important and what's not important, and like how to quickly pivot if I need to.
That's awesome. Yeah, so good. I hope somebody who's listening, if you're driving, you're pulling over and writing this stuff down because this is really good. Or go back and listen again because she just dropped a whole lot of good stuff there for anyone that's in business. So let's go to homeschooling because, like, whoop, military, independent, second in command,
Yes.
you know, wanting to go to the front line, and then, hey, I am a woman who's helping other women build empires and I'm homeschooling my kids. Talk about the mindset that it takes and sort of like, because that didn't take that long, like for you to, because I think you said within 6 months, you moved across the country, you were pregnant with your first one, and you were like starting this new business, you got baptized and yeah, all the
Yes.
things. So talk a bit about that and just also some of the like, so talk about that and then we're going to dig into, because I did not homeschool my kids, and so I'm really super curious about how you're doing that.
That was a journey in itself, right? So like, coming from getting out of the military, I was very it was not on my terms. I was medically separated. So I was very hurt because I was like, I was going to be in the military forever and be the first female chief master sergeant in the Air Force, like the highest thing that you could be as enlisted. And I was like, I don't know what to do next. And I'm pregnant and I'm moving across the country where I don't know anybody, and right? So I was just like lost mentally. I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. Like, it's just me and my husband, and I don't know anybody else. So I was like, I met this girl online. They've got these Facebook pages for spouses at different bases. So you can just like get in community and whatever, because we're always moving. So I like got on there and I met a girl, and she had a baby that was like a month older than mine. And so I like started talking to her, and we were going to meet up, and it never worked out. And then I just felt this calling to ask her for a Bible study. And so I asked her, like, do you have a Bible study? And she was like, yeah, I do. You should come. It's next Thursday or whatever. And so I was like, okay. And so I told my husband we're going to go to this Bible study. And he was like, okay. Like, he was raised in a very Christian home. Like, mine was like, we would go to church for a season and then not, and then go. And so it was like part of our lives, but it wasn't like a serious part of our lives. For him, it was like, you're not watching Harry Potter because Harry Potter's evil. Like, complete opposite, right? So so I was like, "We're gonna go to this Bible study." He was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." And so that's where I met that lady that was homeschooling her kids, and I had never thought that that would be anything that I wanted, and so I was still sending my kid to the private daycare, and I was still working 9 to 5 while I was trying to build something else. And I knew that I wanted to work for myself, and I knew that the military was essentially a stepping stone, but I didn't know all the pieces. So I was just kind of walking it out, and I was like doing it. And so when we lived in Vegas, both my kids went to the private school and they were doing great. And then we moved to Missouri. And in Missouri, I could not find anything that was the same level as the education level that we were getting at that private school in our town that we lived in. We lived in a very small town. We were like, the Target was 45 minutes away. Like, it was just a very, very small town. And I was like, I'm not getting the level that I want. So I hired a nanny. I was like, okay, well, if I have this job, I'm making good money, I'm hiring a nanny. And then I was just like, I just couldn't send my kid to school. I sent her to kindergarten, and halfway through, she is like the most like level-headed, sweet kid, and she was like fighting kids in class. So I was like, there's something wrong where she feels like this has to be her outlet. Like, so I can't, I have to figure out how to homeschool her. So we started homeschooling. And ever since then, it's just been like, okay. But during that time, I had to do a lot of deep mental work because
Hmm.
I had been hurt by the military. I had been hurt by people. I had a sexual assault. And so I was very like, I didn't want to be touched or anything. And I felt like every time my kid wanted to hug me, I was like, you have to ask before you touch me, because my anxiety was so high. So I had to go through tons and tons of therapy. I went through CBT, which is cognitive based therapy, and I went through it with my husband. And so it was like years of retraining my brain to be okay with touching and slowness and getting off the edge of the thing. So like, it was a journey to become a homeschool mom, and now I feel like I can love her in a way that I couldn't before. And it feels good for me to be able to do that, because I want her to know what real love is. I want her to know that what patience is. I want her to know what virtue is. Like, it's also in the Bible, right? Like, I want her to know that love is unconditional, and she's going to make mistakes, and that's fine. But we need to talk about it, and we can move on from that. And like, doing all the grounding and all the work to just like calm your body down, and just all of those things. So that was a lot, but yeah.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that. I appreciate your vulnerability in that. And I'm sorry that sexual assault happened. And yeah, I mean, and just thinking about what you shared at the beginning with your dad, and there's just all, it's, the layers upon layers, and then the stories that we make up, and how the devil
Yes.
uses that to try to create our self identity, which is a lie. And so getting back to that unapologetic version of yourself, which is your most authentic
Yes.
version, which is scriptural, instead of the lies based
Yes.
on events and things that evil people did to
Yes.
you when you were a child and helpless. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. And so, yeah, that makes a lot of sense then with the homeschooling and how you really had to surrender.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, that was a huge part of my journey. Actually, I had this business with a business partner. And during the time, like, everything was going great, and then we had a hiccup, and she was like, "I need to like redirect my life." And so like, when that happened, I was just asking God. I was like, I don't know, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I own JeannettePeterson.com, but like, what am I supposed to do with that? And so he literally gave me this download of the process to surrender. And it was like, how do I create a covenant with God? How do I remind myself of what the Bible says that I am, these I am statements? How do I go into and just really like hear his voice? What does that even mean? Like, how do I even hear his voice? What is his voice? What does that sound like? How to get quiet? How to realize that there is spiritual warfare out there, and what does that look like? How do I identify it versus me making a mistake versus spiritual warfare versus God redirecting me? Those are three different things, and we can blame any of them if we don't know on one of them, right? And so like, he took me through this I don't know if this framework. And so I created this course called Surrender, because I was like, I don't know what else to do with this. And so that kind of kickstarted my journey into creating the business that I have now, which I absolutely am obsessed with.
That's awesome. I had no idea that your program was called Surrender.
Yeah.
Like that word
Yeah.
just came up as you were speaking. That's amazing. I love that. God moments. That's so cool.
Yes.
So cool. So your ideal client is a woman who's making multiple six figures,
Yeah. She's high achieving.
high achieving. Love that. I call her ambitious.
Yes.
Um, and so she's also struggling, like the fact that things look good. Um, but what are some of the things that you can say that you help that woman with?
So a lot of it is stuff that I've had to walk through myself of like the perfectionism, the looking good on the outside but feeling like not good on the inside, and like actually getting the inside to look like the outside. So it's a lot of like cleaning out those deep roots, cleaning out those wounds. And then also like the business aspect of doing the same thing with your business, cleaning out your Google Drive, cleaning out like how are we going to onboard our clients, cleaning out like the processes and making it really smooth. And so it's some of them are like specific processes and some of them are how are we going to create our day, like just having a rhythm of what our week is going to look because some things need rhythms and some things need actual structure and like divine guidance and what that looks like. So that's kind of what I do is I call it the seven figure systems, but it's like mindset and like how you're doing all of the systems in your business. It's a whole holistic kind of point, and it starts with the mindset and like clearing out your heart and like hearing God and like following his voice and worrying about the money afterwards. Like the money is going to come if you're obedient because God wants to give you money because he's the God of obedience and the God of abundance. And he wants those things from you obedience for abundance, but not like if I follow God, I'm going to get rich. Not like that. It's more like he's going to give you things so that way you can steward them for his other people and his other kingdom. If we're always helping other people, then that's what he loves. So he loves us to help his other people. So, yeah.
I was just reading that in Proverbs this morning. Actually, it was my devotional too about kindness and how that's rewarded. And yeah, so good. So we talked a bit about at the beginning around disruption and
Yes.
Christian rebels. So talk a bit about this idea of Christian rebels. What does that mean when I say that to you? What does that conjure up?
Because like I feel like I like you think about the Bible studies and you think about like the ladies in the sewing circle and they're doing all the things and they're making the crafts. Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that at all. That does not sound fun to me. I want to equip women so that way we can like slay the devil. Like how do we like practically do the things that we were called to do, which is like disciple and like build women up so that way we can make like a wave. I'm not trying to sit in a sewing circle. I feel like that does nothing. Like if you want me to pray for you, we can pray, but I want to pray for you to like I don't know, get get something like at the grocery store or something. I want to pray for you to like have the veracity to go after your calling with unapologeticness. Like have the faith. Like maybe you need to borrow some faith. Like let's build this thing so we can like really do these hard things. And it also like people are talking about like all these things are not Christian. And I'm like, all these things from God, like the thought of if I do something good for somebody, these are universal laws. Like you were saying on my podcast. These are not like just anti-Christianese or anything. These are just universal laws of how the spiritual realm works. Like if things are this plus this equals x, right, and that's it. If I go and lay on the ground and I'm grounding, that has nothing to do with me trying to worship the earth. That has everything to do with me trying to be held by the Father. Like last night I took my kids through a body scan meditation because they were just bouncing off the walls. I was like, we just need to calm your heart down and calm down, and
Ooh,
they
let's
felt
pause
great
there
at
for a minute. What does that mean? That is so cool.
so like I have you heard of the app Insight Timer?
No.
So the Insight Timer has like all these different meditations and stuff on it, but the one that I use is just like I make my own meditations. It's got like these dings and it's got the sound, and we just like I had them lay on the ground. And I had them doing some breathing and like
Like
just like
inside or outside?
inside on the ground,
Okay.
and they were just like because it was like bedtime, so like they were just
Oh, okay.
outside the inside on the ground, and I
Mhm.
had them like like I want you to like focus on your toes and look at your toes and wiggle your toes and say thank you for being great to me today, toes. Thank you for my body. Say good night, toes. And like just going through the whole body of like their stomach and telling their stomach thank you for digesting the food for me while I sleep, and brain thank you for all the hard work you did today. Good night. And just saying good night to all the parts of our body because it just like helped them ground themselves and like just relax and like have their nervous system be regulated a little bit. But that does not mean that it's anti-Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I think of when people are like, "Well, I don't know if that's Christian." God made the earth. Like, why can't we just, and he made our bodies. So why can't we thank God for our bodies and thank our bodies for doing the things that God made us to do? Like, I
Hmm.
think it'd be different if I was like telling them to say, worship the earth because the earth is here for you. No, I'm telling them to worship the creator. That's
Yeah.
the difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it gets tricky because secular society, New Age, has hijacked so many biblical principles. So it's like
Yes.
Christians go, that sounds a bit New Age. Well, it also sounds biblical, but it's because New Age has adopted that. So we're just taking this back. We're just
Yes.
redeeming it, restoring it, bringing it back to where it belongs in the first place. And I love how you are the real deal, and you are an amazing, intelligent woman, up to big things. So what's next for you?
What's next? Oh man. So I just got out of this year-long coaching program, and I'm just integrating and really going after whatever God has called me to. And I feel like right now, God has called me to the Deborahs. So I just learned who Deborah is in the Bible. I'm not like, I know, right? I'm not like
I
this.
just
I don't
did,
know
for anyone who
why.
can't see me, I just did like a hello, Deborah, right here. Hello.
So I literally just learned about her. Like I was like, I don't know. I've learned about Esther forever. But like Deborah, I feel like was
I
never
know.
taught to
This is
me.
kind of like Christian, but like, she's badass. She really is.
Yes, yes, yeah. So she's like this middle-aged woman who's like a mother and she's like telling the military what to do. And like I was like, she's like me. Like, why have I never heard of her?
I know. I remember as a little girl going, why is nobody ever talking more about her? Like she just like
Yes,
put a stake in a guy's head because he was viewed as a
right?
bad guy.
Yes. She's like, dude. Just like I was like, this girl is gangster. Like, what? So I'm like, I think I'm
Oh,
supposed to help equip the other Deborahs. Like, I want to like build up
mm.
this army of Deborahs. And so I'm working with God on what that looks like, and I'm very excited.
And then we've got some other things that are kind of brewing as well. And her and I, and she's, like I said, she's got some really big things that are going to shift the consciousness and this whole Deborah movement. Now you got me fired up. Like I love that. That is
Yes.
awesome. Well, Jeanette, can you leave the listener with any final words of advice, wisdom around? Yeah, what do you want to leave with the listener today? What do you want them to take away?
I think the bottom line is if God has given you a big dream in your heart and you feel like I'm being restricted by my religion, then you're in the wrong space. Find women like us that are like, all right, you might have this big calling. How can we achieve that? Because if God put that in your heart, it's because he wants you to steward that dream. So don't shrink smaller, get bigger. How do you blow yourself up and stand strong and firm in that? And find us and reach out to us so that way we can help you take those dreams and make them reality.
Amen. For sure. Absolutely. Well, thanks, Jeanette, for being here. You are a powerhouse. I adore you. Can't wait to do some more work with you.
Yes.
And how do people get a hold of you?
Oh, I'm on Instagram, Jeannette.Peterson. Find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on my podcast.
Yes, go listen to her podcast. She's got some awesome guests, including me. I think I'm coming up. I
Yes.
don't think it's been released yet, but you'll hear the other side of this conversation where I get to, she gets to interview me as well. So go listen to that. Make sure that you follow her and connect with her on social media. So thanks again, Jeanette. Thanks to the listener for being here. And don't forget to dare to declare.
Today, we've delved into the realm of manifesting giants, exploring the power of declaring our desires to the universe with unapologetic boldness. But before we bid adieu, I have a little something special to share with all of you dreamers out there. Introducing the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and online DIY Vision Board course, your ticket to manifesting greatness in style. Picture this. Flipping through pages filled with inspiring images, empowering quotes, and step-by-step guides to help you create the vision board of your dreams. Whether you're yearning for that spacious condo with a view or a love that sets your soul on fire, our magazine is here to guide you every step of the way. Dive deep into the art of manifesting with our exclusive online DIY vision board course. Led by manifesting expert, yes, yours truly, and seasoned dreamers. This course will teach you the ins and outs of creating a vision board that speaks to your heart and soul. So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of the manifesting giants and dare to declare your wildest dreams to the universe. head over to our website, debbiesluice.com, and grab your copy of the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and enroll in our online DIY Vision Board course today. Until next time, keep dreaming big and daring to declare, because in the world of manifesting, the sky's the limit.